Anastasia, with Malcolm,
And some noise from the jingle.
and a cat who's sitting in the corner.
Yes. He's been a very good cat and quiet.
At the moment.
At the moment,
At the
perhaps.
moment. We'll soon find out what happens later on.
He might want to join and give us his opinion on some of the verses.
Which is probably worth far more than my opinion, so listen to what he says. Exodus, the first reading, Exodus, I love this, Exodus chapter 2. God calls Moses, God calls him through the burning bush. I mean, this is just so full of meaning and so full of...
I think this might be a favorite with many people because everybody really, well, not everybody, but so many people really seek guidance with God. Sorry, I'm making you hold this.
That's all right.
And this is one, not the only one, but one of the most prominent bits in the Bible where guidance is so directly and forwardly given. Very straightforward. Who wouldn't want a burning bush and a voice that tells you, go there, say this and that, this is what I want you to do. This is what I would want probably most than anything else.
Yes, the only problem with that is that Moses gets really scared by it.
And it's funny because I would think, okay, all I want from God is guidance. If only I had guidance, there would be no problems. But apparently this is not what would have happened.
Well, it's pretty scary guidance. Yes, it's pretty scary what God is asking him to do.
So if it's not even guaranteed that given guidance we would, like, very, very direct guidance.
And I mean, it's lovely, isn't it? I mean, Moses just sort of keeps on sort of saying, oh, well, you know, what sign will you give me? And it's brilliant.
You've just had a bush. Like, what sign are you talking about? But no.
But the sign, if you notice, is really quite interesting. God says, well, the sign will be this. When you have done what I've told you to do, you will worship me on this mountain. Well, thank you, God. That's a very, very good sign. In other words, be obedient, do it, and then you will know that this was my word.
That's very wise. Yeah, I didn't see it like that.
And then he says, you know, well, what name do I tell them? And then you get that amazing, the revelation of God's name. I am who I am. I mean, there's so much here. There's so much we could spend.
It's a very rich, definitely a very rich chapter, couple chapters. And the confidence that God has in himself and that he expects from us is very different from, I think, from what we can offer him, really, because he has no doubts. He says, I am the everything, like I am who I am. And there is no need for explanation, sign, justification, reasoning.
You cannot, God, there is nothing to measure God against. God can only measure him against.
Yeah.
God can only be measured against God.
But people want something else. Like, okay, sure.
Well, we need a foundation because we're created. God doesn't, because God is not. But our foundation is in fact the God who is ultimate, who is absolute, who is I am who I am.
So it's difficult. I can't blame Moses. Well, I can understand Moses because it's in our nature to want reasoning behind things, and it's in God's nature to say there is no need for reasoning because I am who I am. But we're not him, so we can't treat things this way.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those passages well worth spending time on. And then Hebrews chapter 9. Really again emphasizing the fact about the need for blood, the need for a sacrifice. Without the sacrifice, without blood spilt, there is no sacrifice. There's no without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness of sins. We see that all in the Old Testament in the sacrifices, and yet that was all a picture of the one true sacrifice that was going to count.
The reason that blood is needed to pay for sin is because in blood there is life, right? Blood signifies life, and the payment for sin is death. Is it? So, like,
the argument given here is it's about the fact that there must be a death, so that because there's a covenant involved, and so it's sort of quite a complicated argument which I don't completely get here. in this particular place. I'm sure what you're saying is absolutely right.
I remember in some other part where God talked about people not eating the blood of the animals, because in the blood there is their life, and the life belongs to God, not to people.
That's right.
I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And that the payment for sin is life, but through His grace it's not our own life, it's always somebody else's life. A sacrifice. That's a very...
And this great thing about the fact that, this is so important, that Jesus has died once and for all. We don't need to go around, we don't need to have other sacrifices. There is one sacrifice that is enough for us. And because of that, we can have the assurance of sins forgiven. Bless you. Have a lovely day, and hope to see you tomorrow.